The Biden lead down from 3.9% a week ago to 2.7%. Is this tightening we sort of saw, or do you see this as real momentum?
Look, I think it is momentum here, Tom. I mean, Donald Trump has taken a while to get these momentum going, but he definitely is having some momentum now. The trouble is, of course, it may be too late for the president. We're not sure, because the interesting thing here is Biden still holds a reasonably large national lead of about 6.5%. But that doesn't really mean an awful lot, because that just means there can be a lot of people who really don't like Donald Trump in the big states of California and New York, which, of course, vote solidly Democrat. The key figure is these battleground states, and Trump is definitely making ground with Biden in these states. He's got momentum with him, but he is still further behind in these states, Tom, than he was against Hillary Clinton 4 years ago at this minute. So it's still a big call for Donald Trump.
So that's the crucial element. Pennsylvania, for example, this is huge. 4.2% is the margin. You pointed out it was a similar margin last time, but there is a change in methodology. Now, has it still missed something? Maybe, but presumably it's not missing the same voter cohort in the same way. Also, narrow leads for Joe Biden in Florida, Arizona and Georgia. Now, narrow and within margin of error, but, you know, Donald Trump kind of needs to flip all of those poll results, if not at least 2 out of 3 of them. That's the other point to make, isn't it? That who knows? I mean, we can't just assume this is definitely going to, this polling definitely going to be wrong and definitely going to favour Trump in every circumstance.
No, look, that's right. I mean, if the polls are accurate and more accurate than last time, Joe Biden will be the 46th president of the United States. That's a simple fact. But, you know, he's within striking distance here. And so if the polls are out, if there is a very enthusiastic turnout for Donald Trump, because there's so many of these swing states that are close, he could actually vacuum up about 6 of them or 5 of them at once. And that would really turn the race completely. So that's really the issue here, I think, is exactly what the turnout will be for Trump and what the enthusiasm will be. If you believe the polls pro rata, then Biden will win. But what is making everyone nervous, of course, as far as the Democrats are concerned, is simply that this happened in 2016 and they are terrified of it happening again.
The latest Real Clear Politics we had in Pennsylvania, we just had up 2.9%. This question, look, a bit of one without notice. There's a lot of talk about Biden's long-held lead and, of course, massive voter turnout. Some of these swing states, more people have voted now than they did at the entire last election. Does that give any sort of advantage to Joe Biden because of votes already cast and locked in? Should polling pick up people who have already voted and so that's corrected, or is that a bit of an unknown?
Look, it's a bit of an unknown. I mean, certainly the Democrat voters have been doing the mail-in quite a lot more than Republican voters. We know that because some states actually allow you to report that. That's the case. We know Republicans will turn up much more strongly on the day. They're not fans of mail-in voting. Donald Trump has said that he doesn't approve of mail-in voting because it can be fraudulent. So it's really hard to tell. I think one of the problems for Donald Trump, I think, this time, Tom, because of this very large mail-in and pre-poll voting, is that he hasn't got as many people this time around to suddenly persuade to his side in the last minute. So all this barnstorming of America with these rallies, he's playing to a smaller pool of potential voters than he did in 2016. And that could be a problem. Again, we won't know until tomorrow, but that's certainly a potential problem for the president.
And, of course, undecided was the highest of the past 4 or 5 elections last time, and this time it's the lowest. Turning to the very scientific element of how this feels, Cam, every time I sort of, read through the analysis, you think, well, it's very hard for Trump. Then you watch a Trump rally, and then you see a Biden event, and it just feels like one person has the energy, one person is barnstorming. Do you get that sense as well? Is that something that can almost become self-fulfilling amongst voters, or is this just something from afar that, we see these highlights and it sort of distorts the picture?
No, I think it can become self-fulfilling. I mean, I was in a Trump rally just some days ago, and they're remarkable events. I've been to quite a few, but it was just amazing enthusiasm. The crowds are remarkable all across the country. I mean, you walk away from the Trump events and you just scratch your head and wonder how he's going to lose. Also, I've done a lot of driving through the Midwest, and there are a lot of Trump signs around. I mean, he has a lot of support, very passionate support out there. And I think a lot of the people in the cities in the States, United States, really underestimate that support. Now, I'm not saying that Trump will win, but I'm saying that he has a lot of support out there. He really does. And I think that the part of the idea of these rallies is, of course, not just the people who go there, but it's to just show other Republicans or other swinging voters in the country, wow, this guy's got momentum. Look, people are behind him. The Red Army's behind him. Maybe we should get behind him too. That's really what Trump's strategy is in this whole thing.
It increasingly feels like that with the campaign talking him up. I would say glass overflowing in some cases. Just finally, Twitter announced this policy. When they see election races called, they're going to have little ads saying, official sources call this differently or not yet called officially. This will be so big. I mean, you could have states where Republicans are holding them by a small margin on the day, but those blue votes will come late as they keep counting and all the contests that might come. So an interesting sort of intervention here.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a risky intervention by these tech giants to do that. They've come a cropper a few times in doing that recently. So that'll be interesting. Another thing that'll be interesting, Tom, will be how the television stations project as well, because I mean, with so many mail-in votes in a lot of states, a lot of key states like Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, and Michigan, where there's various rules on reading mail-in votes, not for the next day or the same day as the actual poll. It might be the television stations are reluctant to make predictions as well. And so no one wants to come out prematurely, of course, and actually declare the wrong winner. So it'll be interesting to see how it's going to unfold. There are so many unknowns in this. It'll be fascinating.